And it says, this is Quatrain 24, alike for those who for today prepare, and those that after tomorrow stare. A muezzin from the tower of darkness cries, fools, your reward is neither here nor there. And the paraphrase is, all those who dream of finding happiness on earth, whether in today's distractions or in tomorrow's gains, will find themselves alike disillusioned. Recalling the despair born of painful past experiences, our inner voice of wisdom calls to all men, fools, never on the vast sweeps of cosmic time will you reap the absolute reward your soul is seeking. So, what I understand here is, I think it's the similar theme that continues from past quatrains as well, that seek. Yeah, the final aim of our lives, of this existence, is to seek Satchidanand, is to seek pure bliss, and that will never be found in the world outside. That will never be found by worrying, by getting indulged in today's distractions, or by worrying about the future. Uh, by the way, interestingly, the keys to meaning, Muezzin is is the voice of wisdom, and the tower of darkness is the accumulated painful experiences of life by means of which people ultimately attain cosmic wisdom. So I think this is very similar to what Master says as well. That it's only through a lot of suffering that ultimately we turn within. What's the phrase Master uses? Anguishing monotony of life, and over, after a lot of suffering, eventually we'll turn within, and we'll try to find the final goal, which is pure bliss. And that's what I understand. By the way, yeah, just a quick side note, he mentions here nor there. So here it is understood as not the present as well as the future. But I've read a number of other verses by Omar Khayyam, and there he talks of here means this life, and there means hereafter. And there he's found, at times he very harshly criticizes the religious fanatics who believe that if you do all the rituals and the rules of religion in a superficial way here, then you will go and enjoy an afterlife in heaven or Jannat. So that's an idea that he very harshly criticizes. So I thought it was interesting he mentions it here.
I think, it's amazing when you read these quatrains, how many times Omar comes back to this theme of basically get away from this ocean of suffering, to paraphrase what Krishna said. And it's sort of, I read that, I took note of that too, that with just what you said, that it's only through, going through the hard times of life that we learn wisdom. And I thought it's unfortunate that why does it have to be like that? Why do we, and I think that's just the way this world is made, that it's so attractive that you have to put your hand in the fire in order to find out what it feels like. And you go, oh my God, I'm not going to do that again. But it's, and the other thing that struck me too is, Omar was harshly criticized in his lifetime by religionists, because one, you could see they perhaps misinterpreted his writing, but also besides that is because he was critical. He was critical of religionists, I guess, in other aspects of his life. He was a well-known man. He was a scholar and very well and member of court as a scientist. But religionists and Sufism was ascendant at that time, and he was criticized by them because he was not orthodox. And so you can see that's happens. If you're a great soul, you have to take that in stride. I don't know if any great soul is ever accepted, just straight out. Anyway, any other comments? And then we'll get your two sentences, you sum it up.
I was wondering if we can perhaps discuss on the concept of hope here and what people think about hope. It would seem that in this quatrain, at least, that he's suggesting that the futility of hope, right? It's more of like, don't waste your time, take action now. It's almost like it's hopeless, but yet Swamiji also wrote a book called, Hope for a Better World. And we know that he's such a careful wordsmith. And that particular title, by the way, Jaiji, has always kind of, I mean, like, or just that word, it becomes more of almost like quite a challenge to me when I'm on this path. It would seem like this path is more about you need to take actions right now. It seems it would rather have like a pretty severe flavor. So I would love to hear what people here think of that concept as well, hope.
Well, I think I would approach it in a couple of ways. One is you have to, what are you hoping for? In other words, I think Omar is saying, the hope that you're going to find your bliss in, the back and forth of daily life is futile. And so don't place your hope in things that are ultimately going to give you pain. And he would probably say, put your faith or your hopes in other things. I don't think it's an indictment of hope so much per se, just hope itself. It's probably the end of hope. But I remember something, but hope in general, I remember something that Master wrote, and he said hope is an essential for the person who's bound. If you're bound by delusion, and your devotee, says without hope, a person would stop on the path. In other words, because he used the image of hope is like a lantern on a dark night. He says when you did it, and hope, so you can keep walking. You don't know where, you can't see your destination, but you can see the road ahead of you and it keeps you going forward. He says, but when the hope is blown out by the winds of fate or the winds, whatever blows that hope out, he says, what happens is you come to a stop, and because you can't see which way to go, and you have to rekindle that hope again, that there's something there. I remember, actually, this was an interesting thing, remember that story of Master was riding on a train and there was a fellow who was probably atheistic, I imagine, was criticizing Master about, you're going to see when you die, you're going to be in for a shock. There's not, all these things you're talking about are untrue. And so he was going on in that vein. And, Master did not argue with somebody like that, but he says, well, you may be true, sir, but I'll have the satisfaction of at least knowing that I have done something good in this world. And so and it was sort of interesting is because this thought was running through my mind, because I'm posed all sorts of questions. People pose questions of one sort or another. And a person posed a question to me not too long ago, which it stuck with me, because I it was one of those kind that just sort of, and he was sort of an atheistic mind, a person who wanted to believe in all of this, but he didn't. But he could sort of wanted to, I could tell. And he said, well, you go all your life. And he says, he was asking me and the group I was with, he said, have you found self-realization yet? Have you verified through your personal experience that all of these things that the Master said is true? And I said, well, no, not yet, and so consequently, well, how do you know? You're going to go your whole life and you've wasted your life. It's kind of on that vein. I don't want to overstate it, but it was in that vein. It's all been a waste of time. You spent, etc. All of this, you could have been doing something else, and you put aside one ambition. You could have done this, that, or another thing. It was kind of in that vein. But I answered it kind of like Master. I says, yeah, but I've enjoyed what I've done. So I don't have that many. I don't have regrets in that vein of what I didn't do. I may have a few regrets of what I didn't do and wish I didn't, but not what I didn't do. And I said, besides, I know that the promise is that all things will be fulfilled, because all desires, even if I have those desires that I put aside for something else, I have to fulfill them in a future life. So whether I like that or not, it doesn't matter. I'm going to still, one way or another, I'm going to have to fulfill them. So they will be fulfilled. So I was sort of in that vein. And, but I couldn't help but thinking of it afterwards. So yeah, has this all been a big waste of time? You know, and now that may seem like a depressing thought, but I don't think it really is if you're of a certain mental disposition like I am, because I think we do have to look in the mirror and we have to ask ourselves, why am I doing any of this? You know, some people are afraid to ask that question. And I don't think we should be afraid. I think because to pursue a path because you're afraid of the answer is not really courageous. You know, I mean, you have to, and you have to self-introspect, ask yourself, why do I meditate? Why do I follow this path? Why don't I just go into the, you know, not the symbolic tavern, but the literal tavern down the street maybe, and just drown my sorrows or whatever. And I think we ask and we say, okay, why? And what have we found in life? Why is this meaningful? Because if it's not, if you can't answer that question, then I think it's a call for each of us to introspect a little bit. And I think what'll happen is maybe we'll go off and suffer some more. Maybe we need to suffer some more to come to that answer. And I think, so I don't, you know, because this is a long journey. Each one of us pays the price in our own way, but I don't recommend people to follow the spiritual path blindly. They have to be following something. There's some reason for it, because if you're blind and you're just going forward because you're afraid of, you know, the alternatives, you're going to have to encounter that someday. And I think all of us need to look inside. And then we say, yes, I'm following this path because I love Master, or I'm following this path because I don't want to suffer anymore, or I'm following this. And I go back to my original motive. I think back, why did I start all this? I thought, oh, I remember. And then or either from the negative side or from the, oh, you know, I've had those, I may not have found the end result, but I've had glimpses along the way and they're enticing. And I hope that all of us are enticed by the good things rather than fearful of the negative things, but each to his own karma. And so, but I think it's a good question. You ask a very good question. What is hope? And I think it is hope. Now, Swami and hope for a better world, I think it's a natural hope. The cynic and the skeptic might say, it's all, get away from this ocean of suffering, and it's all delusion. And I think that you could say, yes, that's true. But it's not very fun to look at life that way, I think. And I know Swami was, you know, I think a saint wants other people to enjoy life, but in the right way. And I think, you know, so anyway, I think there's always a hope that people will awake. But underneath, there's a realization that most people will not. But you gotta, you know, what do? You know, you could be sad or you could keep on hoping. And I think hopefulness is a nice quality. I don't know, what do other people think? I've talked a long time here. What do other people think? Is it hopeful? Is it a good thing to be hopeful or not?
I mean, I've been thinking about the difference between hope and faith, because it doesn't really seem the same thing. Because when you are hopeful, when you have hope, underlying hope, there is like a kind of expectation, right? But faith, it doesn't really seem that there is an expectation. You just give it up to God, and whatever it is just simply is. right? So I don't know.
Well,
That's what
I
I've
think
been reflecting as you were speaking.
I think in the Bible, they do distinguish between those two things. There's a phrase in the Bible, hope, faith, and
Love.
I'm not a, is it love or whatever? Anyway, there's the three things, and hope and faith are two of them. So there are differences. And maybe what are the differences? What do people think? What's the difference between hope and faith?
I think if we move by faith, I give more importance to moving by faith more than hoping. If I am moving by faith, everything just seems quite okay. And I just I want somebody to reflect on, why should it always be the accumulated painful experience of life which should drive you for the ultimate attainment of cosmic wisdom? I don't see, why should it be suffering? Why should you see any experience or anything that you had in life so far till you come to this realization that you want to seek something bigger, which we all are on that path. We are all at the different stages, but I don't know why it should be an accumulated painful experience of life to ultimately attain cosmic wisdom.
Yeah.
I don't see it like that. I don't see it like that.
Because one way, I think probably what Omar is referring to is that if you want to call it happiness, whatever we may experience as a positive feeling or emotion, in this world of duality, it has to see the other side. And so no matter how much we like and aspire and reach out for it, eventually you have to come full circle to the other side of things. And as Yogananda ji said, you're left with a feeling of anguishing monotony, because what you're looking for, the full expression of it is never realized on this plane. Though we like to, sometimes we also like to delude ourselves. I've seen sometimes even, late in life, people are hesitant, or they do not like to accept that, life, I have not been successful, or I have not got everything I need. So somewhere they don't like to accept the fact that there is more, and that there is more to explore on the other side of what we have already seen. So I think one of the meanings could be that we like to think we'll find everything here, but the truth is we don't, and we won't. And coming to hope, I think hope too. We are hoping for something better. When we are hoping for something better, for something good. And that's something good, that's something better that we're looking for. Again, what Omar Khayyam is trying to tell us is not in the way we are seeking it through ego limitation and ego bondage. So while we have hopes for those, material pursuits in life, he's telling us, that hope is going to lead you ultimately to a place of sorrow and disappointment, that you want to hope for something that is more eternal, that you want to hope for something that is lasting and permanent. And if we want to find that is what the soul is seeking, as Yogananda ji would say, then we, as Omar Khayyam points out, I think we need to follow that road. So I think, like Jaya ji said, he's not, cutting out hope, or he's not denying hope. Hope is an aspect of, I think, the breath, that every breath will be deeper. Every breath will take you higher up the spine. And it's a good hope, but for the eternal verities of life.
If I may also add, Niriti, to something you were asking, am I audible from this distance? Okay. That, yesterday I gifted somebody this book of masters called How to Be Happy All the Time. And the person said, wow, what a title. And this lady said, I never even thought such a thing is possible. And she said, I'm going to read this book. That we are never taught to see happiness for us is something like a balloon which gets bigger and bigger. And then eventually any intelligent person knows it has to explode. But the kind of happiness, you might say, or joy master and the saints are talking about doesn't even strike us. So again, we don't search for it. But repeated sufferings and disappointments, because we want something bigger, somewhere Swami used to say, there's joy inside you. That's why you're seeking it in different outer ways. And through those repeated disappointments and anguishing monotonies, we realize it's not going to be found outside. I just have to turn within.
But the question, there was an interesting question though that Nriti asked about the difference between hope and faith. It's like, sometimes we don't have much hope, or our hope is dashed, but then there's something even deeper below. But I have faith that there is such a thing as hope, it's maybe even a little deeper than hope. Hope seems a little bit more, to my mind, a little bit more on the surface, whereas faith is more, you don't even know why you have faith, but you just sort of have this feeling that, that seems hopeless, but I have faith that there's something good at the end of it, or whatever the object might be. Any thoughts?
That's well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe faith comes from that, the spirit side of us, which somewhere faintly remembers that, like many people say, if it's not a good end, it's not the end. That, but hope is those little prods that take us in that direction.
I like that. If it's not a good end, it's not an end. That's the first time I've heard that. That's good. I like that. That's good. Okay. No, where did you go? Oh, you shipped it. Okay. Yeah. Any more?
2 lines.
Yeah, the 2 lines. Mayuresh, can you just sum it up? What was that quatrain about again?
Summary, I would say, it just simply says that deep inside your soul seeks pure bliss, and that will never be found in the world outside, in whichever way, neither in the material world, neither for a false hope of a afterlife where you go and enjoy forever. It will only be found within, in the bliss of the divine.
That's a very pithy saying. That's a quatrain. Okay, the next one, number 25.
Yeah. So Quatrain 25, and this one is a bit rhetorical one. It's an ironic one. So this is not exactly what Omar is saying, but it's as if he's quoting the materialists or those who are critical of the spiritual path. Why all the saints and sages who discussed of the 2 worlds so learnedly are thrust, like foolish prophets forth, their words to scorn are scattered, and their mouths are stopped with dust. So in the paraphrase, it is explained that Omar Khayyam voices a frequently heard argument founded on ignorance and blind belief. This is not Omar's opinion, since he repeatedly stresses the merits of personal experience over dependence on the claims of others. This stanza might well have been put in quotes, for its entire intention is ironic. Why look at all the saints and sages who so learnedly discuss this life and the afterlife? Where are they now? Buried under the dust of centuries. In what way do they differ from the ignorant, prattling, self-wanting prophets that daily deliver their diatribes on the street corners? Are not the words of the saints mocked by death just as scornfully? Is not their wisdom scattered as disdainfully into the void? Their voices now are muted by the same dust that covers all the floors of ancient tombs. How can we know that what they spoke was wisdom? So as is mentioned, this is a slightly different verse, and it's intended to be ironic. Maybe he's just voicing the opinion of materialists who say that all of this spirituality is nonsense and none of this is true. And what happened to all the great saints who came here? All of them are gone. In the editorial comments, interestingly, it's mentioned to express the opposing view with quiet humor is a popular mode of teaching in the East. So the teacher speaks smilingly in apparent support of the views that are not in harmony with his own, rarely acknowledging that they too have a certain intrinsic merit. So this is a way of debate where you sometimes support the opposing view and then try to demolish it in not by taking it head on, but indirectly. By the way, the keys to meaning, it mentions foolish prophets, where it is explained as learned but unenlightened men and women, some of whom may be able to prophesy, but none of whom can remedy evil. So this foolish prophets doesn't it remind us of that conceited Pandit in the autobiography who chanted all of those chants in Sri Yukteswarji's ashram, and then Sri Yukteswarji said that I'm waiting to hear you. That reminds me of that story. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
I think, I think this is like that fellow on the train who confronted Master, this is all foolishness and where are they now? Those great saints. And how do you argue with somebody like that? Really, I don't think argument is not it's not something, and it's probably best you would use sort of a little bit of humor, I think, is sort of the best thing you can do to defuse the situation and come back with when people do present these arguments to you. You just, well, more merit to you, and each of us is going to find out in the end. Any comment? Okay, now if you were to sum that up in two sentences.
Yeah. So before I sum it up, maybe a general comment here. There are sometimes people who believe that anyone on the spiritual path should be able to show some miracles. And if you have been on the spiritual path for so many years, then show me some miracles. Show me some way that validates all these years. And maybe this is in the expanded meaning, I think that is explained. So the way I will summarize it is all the great ones and the lives of great ones superficially will still be similar to ordinary people like us. They will still die, but the real miracle is in the way in which they live, and that's what we should learn from.
Yeah.
And also probably that saints and sages, though they perform miracles or they may prophesy, the real ones are those whose lives itself are a miracle, that it's not just outer works, but the inner work of a life well lived. And that is the true, that is the
Yeah, a life well lived. That's nice.
Yeah, I particularly like the last line in the expanded meaning, the last paragraph. Most saints leave this world in a simple, unpretentious manner like everyone else. They deserve our love and emulation above all for that example they set of humility, of calm acceptance and universal love and compassion. I think it's a very beautiful way of saying it. You don't have to literally, I mean, it's nice. I like the way they've said it, that wisdom is the fruit of personal experience. Each one has its own take on it. Yeah, very nice. Beautiful.
Okay. Did we get our 2 sentences or not? I don't remember.
Yeah.
We did.
No,
Okay.
no. I think you had a comment.
Oh yeah, you didn't give us your 2 sentences.
I think yes, so I'll repeat. It's the same one. The expanded meaning, the last 2 lines that were repeated. That the way to understand these 4 lines is not to take them directly, but indirectly, and understand the greatness of saints in the way they live, in the simplicity of their lives. And it's not necessary that they might perform miracles, but it's the way in which they live. The life in God is the real miracle. Is the way to
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Now let's see number 26. Now who is this?
Bhageshri.
Yes. Okay, Bhageshri, number 26.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Well, why don't you come forward just a little bit? You're audible, but you sound far away.
Now?
Yes.
Yeah, probably good.
Okay. Now, Quatrain 26. Oh, come with old Khayyam and leave the wise to talk. One thing is certain, that life flies. One thing is certain, and the rest is lies. The flower that once has blown forever dies. Paraphrase. Oh, follow the ancient way taught by Omar Khayyam, the way of destroying with a new vibration the hard incrustation of ignorance. Seek the direct experience of God and leave to drive theologians their absorption in abstract theoretical arguments. Behold this one flaming truth. All life is fleeting. Cling to that understanding and seek then within yourself that which alone endures. During the short station of this earth life, during the short season of this earth life, reap the lasting harvest of God wisdom. Now here, what I understand is that Omar Khayyam gives the way to destroy the delusion or the ignorance with the new vibration, the age-old truth, which can be rediscovered by the tools and techniques given by God and Gurus, or like Omar Khayyam has given the tools and techniques. So similarly, if we apply in our path, Kriya Yoga is the tool, the techniques given to us through which we can destroy the delusion. And here he suggests that use these techniques to discover inner silence, ever new bliss. One more suggested thing is that take this experience yourself. Means just don't read the scriptures, but take the experience. It is like the example always given. If you want to taste the orange, you will have to eat it. Just by seeing, you won't be able to understand the taste. So here also, we have to do it ourselves, follow those tools and techniques given to us, which will take us to the ever new bliss, to the inner silence. And the further he says that how you can do it in daily meditations, we have to penetrate the wheel of sense, like we have to pass through all our senses and get in touch with God. And once you get to know, uh, means once you get to know or have that experience of understand that this life is fleeting, means this life will go incarnations after incarnations and we will not know. So whatever experience we get, we have to keep touch with it. So when we come from like in the meditations, we go to the higher levels, take the experience. Here it is suggested that we have to keep that feeling with us when we are coming into this conscious world back from that. And here he suggested that through daily meditations, we can do this.
Well, that pretty much summed it up. That was good. Yeah, that was good.
One more point is that he's saying that this life is too short, so don't waste time and get in touch with God as fast as you can,
Yeah.
because life is going to fly like this, and it is the eternal truth that we have to reach finally. Means you do whatever it is, you reach
Yeah.
to that truth. This is what he says. Don't waste time.
Okay, any additional thoughts, and then you can give your 2 sentences. Okay.
It would seem that he's making a criticism of templeanity and churchianity or organized religion here. Would we all agree?
I think he's probably that theme goes through the whole book. There's a certain, he's emphasizing direct experience, and the others, not the foolishness of outward form or things like that. So I think he's reiterating that.
Yeah, Jaya, I like this in Keys to Meaning. Bhagyashree explained that, but I want to read that again. Swami writes, with old Khayyam, that line, oh, come with old Khayyam, means with the age-old truth as rediscovered by Omar Khayyam. The truth is eternal, it is ancient, it is again and again revived and rediscovered and presented appropriately. So I thought that word was also beautiful there.
Okay, Bhagyashree, if you could sum that quatrain up.
So here I think that we have to follow our tools and techniques to reach to God and keep in touch Means we have to experience ourselves, we have to experiment all this ourselves and get to the truth. This is what I understand.
Okay, okay. That was good, good, good. Okay, number 27.
27 is also in continuation with this and much overlapping, but yeah, I'll read the quatrain 27. Myself, when young, did eagerly frequent doctor and saint and hard great argument about it and about, but evermore came out by the same door as if I went. This stanza of Rubaiyat, ordinarily interpreted as a sarcastic reference to the vanity of intellectually discussing life's mysteries, is really a profound tribute to Omar Khayyam's religious teachers. This statement is proved by the first line of the next stanza, number 28. With them the seed of wisdom did I sow. I'll read the paraphrase. With youthful eagerness, I passed through the portals of intuition. Frequenting saints and wise men, I listened sensitively to their dissertations and learned from them lofty techniques for perceiving truth. The door through which they lead me into the inner silence became at last familiar to me. I learned how to pass easily back and forth and to establish in my outer life also those inner divine perceptions. Now, here, if we go forward, like in the last quatrain, we understood that we have to follow the tools and techniques and get in touch with the God. In this, he's saying that how you can achieve that means you can be along with those people who are self-realized. So your environment again becomes important. And here he is saying that keep the company of self-realized masters, be in their presence and try to attune with them. He suggested that listening to them intently and trying to follow the techniques by attuning to them, to their vibration, we can learn. And here in his early lives, he did that all. And here now, somewhere he is giving the testimony and asking us to prove ourselves that he has achieved that, doing all these things. And later on, he says that once you know the divine truth, what we have to do is that we should strive to keep to be in that conscious state and bring those the perceptions what we will receive, bring it into our outer world. So that becomes our responsibility also, that bring the divine bliss, the presence into our world when we come back on this level of consciousness. Like the consciousness level is changed. Like when we are in meditation, we are connecting to the superconscious, receiving the perceptions, getting in touch with divine, getting the blissful experience. But it doesn't end there. We have to be with it when we are back to our outer world. And this is what I understand, that is again a major thing which we should be doing. And one more thing I would like to read, that he said that I learned how to pass easily back and forth. So that back and forth means when we are in divine bliss, again when we come back, we have to carry that. And we have to learn and learn to continue, keep that feeling in our intuition, because these perceptions will be intuitively guided. Intuitively, we will come to know, and that is what we have to learn and keep doing that. And we have
we have less time. Finally.
Yeah, I remember that Master saying when the devotee goes into samadhi and then he comes out, then the next thing is to learn to be able to consciously be able to go back and forth into and out of that state at will in one's meditation. And that does he not say it in there that from his guru taught him how to go back and forth into and to recapture that state after he had went into the samadhi state himself? Anyway, that's a good point to make, Bhageshri, right at toward the end there. You want to sum that up? 2 lines?
Just summing up, I think we have to get in touch with God through these meditations and bring that divine bliss in our surroundings and give bring those perceptions through our actions into our outer world.
Okay.
That is
Okay. Okay. You must have a house full of kids there. Somebody is having fun.
Ganesh Chaturthi, they are having immersion going on.
Isha is being put in the water.
Yeah. They're probably saying, all those adults over there, they're not having fun. Anyway.
I just remember, Jayaji, that in Autobiography of a Yogi, Lahiri Mahashaya, I think, mentions about what is coming out. We should be careful about what is coming out of us. He mentions that how to pass easily back and forth means we should be careful about what is coming out of us. How are we expressing? How are we? Giving out the bliss which we are taking into meditation. So that's what this stanza explains.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think Shital, I think, is next.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
So before I go to the next, I think Quatrain 27 reminded me of Master's words of carrying a portable paradise with you. So that was to sum it, the portable paradise which we carry with us wherever we go. Okay, so over to now 28. This is Quatrain 28. With them, the seed of wisdom did I sow, and with my own hand labored it to grow. And this was all the harvest that I reaped. I came like water, and like wind I go. And the paraphrase. At last, in my soul garden, with the help of those great ones who had found self-realization, I planted the seed of wisdom. By ardent daily effort, I sprinkled the garden with water drawn from the lake of my inner silence and concentration. The seed grew in time and blossomed into the ever-fragrant, fiery flower of immortality. Thus did I reap the divine harvest, vast beyond anything I could ever have imagined. Considering the reward, how relatively insignificant were my poor efforts. My mind once had been a river of desire, winding its way through barren tracts of matter consciousness towards the horizonless gray sea of death. Now, the waters of my sense life have all evaporated, heated by the divine fire. Expanding, they have become transformed into the mighty wind of spirit, which spreads its power over infinite stretches of God consciousness. And this is such a beautiful quatrain. And the keys to the meaning give everything out. I mean, if you read the keys first, then it's like you don't have to put on your thinking caps. But I did make notes, and I feel that our consciousness, what he's saying is, our consciousness is like this fertile soil, wherein he has sown the teachings of wisdom from his true guru. And since he has a true guru, he can sow the correct teachings, added with To add it to that, he used his sincere daily practice. All the harvest refers to the entire wisdom. I came like water. I came restless into this world, full of turbulence, full of shakiness, you know. Sometimes I want this and sometimes I want that. But then when I go, I've decided that I'm not going back this way. I'm going back soaring high up into infinity, like the qualities of the wind he's describing to simulate this. So he's specially using wind because wind has a power of refinement, of powerfulness, of freedom. Even though it's refined and powerful, yet it's free. It's ever flowing. It can go, it's omnipresent. It can go anywhere. So if I have to sum up this in 2 lines, the first line would be, our consciousness is this fertile soil where our true guru, along with our daily efforts, plants the entire wisdom. Line number 2, I came to the path restless like water, but when I go, I'll be soaring high up into infinity like the wind, refined, powerful, and free.
Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah. You know, I agree with you, Chital. We were speaking earlier about hope, and I find this one very hopeful quatrain, and because it's so beautiful. Our feeble efforts and the reward for our feeble, and looking back at how feeble was my effort. And don't all of us, I mean, I look at my effort and I think, oh, it's kind of feeble, you know, comparatively. Sometimes I think I'm working hard, but in the larger analysis, I can only do so much as a devotee. And I wonder, is this good enough? And it seems somewhat feeble, but yet the reward or the goal of God's coming into our consciousness, it's that vision of that possibility is so uplifting that it just keeps me going, and is knowing that vision is there and it's a reality if I just can remove some of these veils that is blocking it from me. So I find the very inspiring quatrain.
Yes. And also every time he comes back to daily effort, every 1 or 2 quatrains he comes back to daily effort, which also Lahiri Mahasaya used to say, banat banat ban jaye. So it's like banat, because every day there's banat, no? So one day ban jaye, banat banat, adding all those banats.
Yeah.
So
you just keep on keeping on.
Trying. So now, shall I go to 29 or we?
Okay, any comment? Let's go to 29.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do 29.
Okay, so 29 is, into this universe, and why not knowing, nor whence like water willy-nilly flowing, and out of it, as wind along the waste, I know not whither, willy-nilly blowing. So in both these sentences, he has used the common word willy-nilly, which just again signifies how we are, coming helplessly here, just floating around. And the paraphrase is, I knew not the reason I had come into this world, nor until I attained wisdom myself, was I aware from what invisible source my life flowed into this physical body. Now I am earthbound no longer. My soul, like a mighty wind, spreads its wings to embrace infinity. My little human life, purified by daily flights in divine ecstasy, has shed its material grossness. It has become immortal. So again, he's referring to the daily flights in divine ecstasy, which means we keep touching that joy in deep meditation. And then we are able to come out of this grossness. And the expanded meaning is so beautiful that I have taken almost all my notes from there. The expanded meaning is really so beautiful that I couldn't but try to borrow some stuff from there. Okay, so I think he's explaining his beautiful feeling of immortality. That's what I feel. And not being earthbound anymore, as he's putting his sincere right efforts daily, like of right understanding, right knowledge, right attitude, everything he's putting it in the correct direction. And hence he's getting very good results by soaring up into the infinity. It's like simple mathematics. We are putting the right energy, you're getting out the right results. So I feel it's like a very nice, well put, simple mathematics. He's able to shed the material grossness, which means I think he's able to clear up all the vrittis that we have one by one. Because every time we try to work on one vritti, we are coming up with the second one. And so I think one by one, all the vrittis are getting cleared. And then he'll stop this willy-nilliness, like helplessly coming on earth. And by wind, he means, I think, spirit. And he has also given that along waste. So waste is like hovering over matter, because we have been hovering. We have come a long way, wanting money, wanting fame, wanting so many things, wanting all these materialistic things. I mean, we really have, and we've done with so much that we have actually come and sat into the Rubaiyat now, all of us. Otherwise, Omar also would be happy with us since we have come and sat here. And maybe, hope and things that we discuss, like hope and little things, restlessness or flights to infinity. I don't think that he wants us to stick on to one lifetime and discuss what is, what I feel, what you feel, or, there's no I and you here. The whole thing is one big, beautiful ocean in which I is everywhere. You are I am I, everything is I. And I think Omar also wants us to feel, because he also mentioned in two or three quatrains before, he has mentioned a vast expanses. So he's not talking of today, he's talking of all our lifetimes. So whether it's hope or whether it's effort, it's all our previous lifetimes. So I feel we need not just get stuck on certain words. We just have to take the inner meaning out of each and every quatrain. Okay, so if I have to sum it up in 2 lines, let's go for the first line. The first line is, we don't know from where and how and when we have originated and landed into this physical body, nor can we comprehend or express our creator. That's line number 1. Line number 2, all we need to do is touch our joy in daily meditations to rise above matter consciousness into this freedom of spirit through humility, steadfastness, and studying the lives of the saints. That's also what he's mentioned, comma, so that eventually, because I have to do 2 lines, I can't break the promise. So, comma, so that eventually our thought itself will merge into the universal wisdom. So there'll be nothing left. So we'll have just, our thoughts itself will be, instead of being just anywhere rooted, they'll be properly universally rooted in wisdom. So I think I've used a lot of English better in between to make it into 1 line. That's it. Guru.
Well, that was good. That was good. I think it's just, in a sense, Omar's been he's giving encouragement here. And then he's sort of prompting us, to go forward, do it. There's something there. Take my word from it. Now, follow the way of old Omar Khayyam, and reassuring in that way. So in a sense, I think this whole theme of hopefulness, I think that we landed on today is a good summation of what we talked about today. Now we never, Alyssa, I think, Lisa, that you're going to be next time, so you'll start off
thank you, Jayaji. Yes.
with the two next time. And then Blaise, you add some more to the list, and we'll pick it up again. But let's take these words. I mean, I think this was a very inspiring section right here, that there is something there. Let's strive for it, and God will satisfy all desires, all desires. Joy to all of you. Joy to all of you.